What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing Batman Gothamn City Escape, the new for 2023 Intamin launch coaster at Parque Warner Madrid. This coaster has a length of 3,013 feet, a height of 147 feet, and a maximum speed of 64 miles per hour. This is an amazing coaster and definitely one of the best that I got to ride in 2023, and I'm excited to share my thoughts about it in this review. This was the first major coaster at Parque Warner in about 20 years, and it's a very amazing addition and makes a very bold first impression, especially when you enter the park and you see the top hat in the front of Main Street like that. It's located in the Gotham City section of the park, and they actually have this really cool pathway in the middle of the coaster, which is like themed to Gotham City Park, which offers amazing views of the ride. Once you get to the queue line, you'll notice that the front of the line is themed to Wayne Manor, and guests enter through the doors into the pre-show there. There's a big queue onto the side where you'll wait for the ride, and then once you're done waiting in the outside portion, then you move into the pre-show room, which is inside Wayne Manor. The park actually reused their old simulator building for this attraction, which is why you have all the existing rooms for the pre-show, which is great. It really adds to the experience. This is really a full experience coaster. You know, it has everything. It has theming, thrills. You know, the full package is fantastic. So you wait in your line, and then you go through the doors of the pre-show. And once you're all in the room, the doors close, and a monitor comes on, and Bruce Wayne starts talking to you. You don't actually see a picture of his face or anything. It's just an audio recording, which is a little strange. The pre-show goes on for quite a bit of time, but this coaster is so good that you're going to want to ride it over and over again, even though you have to see this pre-show a lot. So then after a minute, the Joker comes onto the camera, and you actually do see him appear on, and you see his face, and you see him talking and all that. And he promises to lighten up the mood and make everyone laugh, and he gives you laughing gas, which comes down through the chimney, which is a really cool effect. It's a big green cloud of laughing gas. Then Batman activates the emergency system. A clock starts to spin in the room. And then a secret doorway opens up in the bookcase, and these sirens start blaring. At that point, you're told to leave the room, and everyone runs down the hallway. You enter into this Batcave themed room, which is very atmospheric. You know, you have some monitors showing that villains escaped Arkham Asylum. You have the bat suit on the side there. It's awesome. Eventually you reach a tunnel, and it looks like they kind of just exploded this tunnel here with the way it's done with the rock work. And you enter a train station, and the tile work in here is really nice. It looks like an actual train station. It's amazingly done. The whole time they're playing the music in the background, which I have in this video, it's great. I love the soundtrack for this ride. I listen to it every day. And then you're going to see your trains that you're going to board, and they are the 3-car trains, kind of like on Maverick, and that is because of the whippy transitions this coaster had. This does have the new style lap bars, pretty much identical to the ones on Velocicoaster or Pantheon, and it feels like they really don't come down much throughout the ride, which is fantastic for all the airtime you're going to get on this coaster. So you sit down in your seat, there's no seatbelt, just a lap bar, so really quick dispatch. They have cubbies on the side where you can put your stuff, and they actually have a door that closes, and I think it locked, which was pretty cool and made me feel comfortable leaving my stuff there. So next, the train, you're going to get the dispatch. You're going to see Batman appear on a monitor. I'm not exactly sure what he says here because it is all in Spanish. So you make a turn and line up for the first launch. Joker is above you on a turret, and he starts talking. And then there's an explosion effect with his gun, like a green light. And then you launch forward, and the first launch is very punchy. It feels very similar to the first launch on Sandy's Blasting Bronco, if any of you are familiar with that ride at Nickelodeon Universe. It doesn't go into that fast of a speed, but the acceleration is really punchy, so that's already a great way to start it off. You head up into this first little hill before you head into the first inversion. And everyone gets a little bit of floater airtime here. It's not super strong, but just a nice little bit of floatiness before you head into the inversion. The first inversion is a corkscrew, and this one is loaded with hang time. You get some wild laterals as well as you're twisting out of it. I felt myself hanging down out of my seat and sort of twisting to the side on the exit, which was really cool. And immediately you go into the next launch, which is the main one on the ride that takes you up into the top hat. And I really like the sequencing with this because, you know, a lot of these other launch coasters, they kind of feel like they take a bit longer to reach that max point, but this ride just goes right from the start, which is something I love about it so much. So you twist up 180 degrees into the top hat, and when you twist, you get a really nice bit of laterals, especially if you're on the left side of the train. You fly up into the top hat, and there is a trim here, but I really actually think this adds to the ride experience. So there's some onboard audio that happens throughout the ride, and it's a lot of talking, and there's some cinematic music and talking when you're at the top of the top hat. And there's two distinct airtime pops here. Entering the top hat, you get a wild bit of ejector airtime in the front row. The back will more so get floater as you're coming up into it, and then everyone will get thrown forward once the brake engages. And then once you crest over in the back row, you get whipped down that drop. This has a 98-degree first drop, and the brake doesn't really touch the actual steepest angle of the drop, so even though you're going to slow down and get that cinematic stall, you're still going to have amazing airtime over the drop. I think this drop is way better than the one off the top hat on Tutatis at Parque Streaks. Easily a better drop and better top hat. This was done a lot better, I would say. So yeah, you drop down and you do an S-bend and you fly over a sustained ejector hill. And this hill shocked me with how strong it was. Like, we're talking like Skyrush level ejector here, and I really felt myself fly up and get yanked out so hard out of my seat. A lot of the times, I really felt like my knees almost start to like feel like they were touching the lap bar because of how far I was out of my seat here. This is an amazing sustained moment, and I think these type of moments are what's missing from Velocicoaster. You know, that ride just doesn't have any like furious sustained ejector like this does, and you know, I think that really sets it apart and puts it in a different league in my opinion. So that element is absolutely amazing. And then you go through a dive loop which has sideways ejector airtime, and in the back you're going to get some crazy laterals here. Especially, this is an element that's one of the elements that has better laterals on the right side for sure, but it's still good on the left side as well. And then after this element, you're going to take a surprise dip, and the way this is set up, you cannot see it coming, so it kind of just looks like the track disappears as you hit the bottom. And I love this element. Like, normally smaller elements don't have much of an impact to the ride, but this one does. It's a small element, but it feels huge, and I love that about it. Next, you're going to curb up into a twisting air hill. This is on a lot of Intamin coasters, and as you're curving up into this element, you get really nice laterals if you're on the left side of the train, and I felt myself folding over a lot on this element. And then when you get to the top, on the right side, you get a nice lateral jolt with a bit of airtime to the side, and it reminds me a bit of a toned-down version of Skyrush's S-Hill that it does, so not as intense as that, but still very, very good. Next, you fly through a second corkscrew. This one is really whippy. You get a surprise airtime pop halfway through it, which is kind of weird, but I really like that. And on the left side, you really get twisted through this element, and there's some nice laterals as well. Then you're going to go through a wave turn, and this is profiled like very sharply. This is definitely an element where you see it was like made for these 3-car trains, along with that dive loop. And I feel like the S-Hill that it does too, you know, with these smaller trains, it just has these really whippy transitions, which I absolutely love. So the wave turn on the right side of the train, you get a nice more like pop of airtime, but on the left side, it's a lot more sustained, and there's more lats as you curve around it, which I think I like it more on the left side, the wave turn. And then you're going to go through the third launch, and this probably has the best acceleration of the 3 launches. And you're going to curve up and you get some really nice laterals where you kind of feel yourself folding over here on the left side again, which is probably why I prefer the left side on this coaster. Both of those elements, those turns, you get really nice, like a folding lateral sensation where you really get like bent over to the side, which is just so intense and awesome. You twist upward, and then you fly into what might be the best inversion of all time. This is definitely the best zero-G stall. On the left side, you get like sideways airtime entering it, and then it just flattens out, and you just hang out of your seat, and it twists back down, and as you're twisting down, it changes back into airtime. Plus, you're getting laterals here, which is amazing. And the whole thing lasts about 5 seconds, which is, it just feels like forever, honestly. And this is easily the best zero-G stall of any coaster, in my opinion. So you twist back downwards, you fly through a building, and then you go up a spike. And the spike, you know, it's not the best spike in the world. It's more just there for a brake run. But I still think it's a cool part of the ride. And the reason it's there is because they didn't have room for a normal station, with the fact that it reuses the simulator building. So that's why they had to build that spike there. So you see the Joker's face as you fly through, which is a really cool effect, especially at night. And at this point, every time I hit the brake run, I felt myself just like laughing hysterically. The whole ride was just so much fun, and I loved it every single time. Before you head back into the station, you see that the Joker has been caught by Batman. And you see a statue of Batman over the Joker as well. And there's some audio. Again, it's all in Spanish, so it's kind of hard to understand it for me. But then you head back into the station, you dispatch. They have a nice shop with tons of merch for the ride. You can get lots of different t-shirts. You can get your on-ride photo. So yeah, they have a large selection of merch for this ride. And yeah, that's kind of the whole ride experience of Batman. It's an absolutely phenomenal coaster. I love this ride so much, and it shot up into my top 5 coasters of all time. I would say it's my number 3 or 4 steal, and definitely in the top 5 overall. This is easily my favorite coaster in Spain, and I think it's very close between this and Expedition G-Force as my all-time favorite in Europe. I'm not totally sure. If I had to pick one right now, I'd probably say Batman, but it could go back and forth. So, absolutely, this is a 10 out of 10 roller coaster. And I think what sets it apart from other launch coasters is it just goes from the start. You know, with Velocicoaster, the whole first half of the ride is basically just meandering. And then with Pantheon and Tutatis, you have these slower starts with the swing launch. But Batman just goes from the start, and there's no filler track. Like, every single element really adds something to the layout, and there's really no dead time with this coaster. And the fact that it has intense laterals, as well as intense sustained ejector airtime, on top of all the inversions and the twisty elements and all the other stuff that makes these kind of rides great, you know, it easily sets it apart as the best Intamin launch coaster of all time. Easily the best multi-launch coaster Intamin has ever done. And just bravo to them, because they did everything right for this ride. And it's easily the best roller coaster of 2023, in my opinion. So, those are my thoughts on Batman Gotham City Escape. Also, one more thing is that when you go out and ride this coaster, the line can get pretty long. I waited about 45 minutes for it, but you can get single skip the lines, which are pricey, but I feel like they were really helpful. So the Parque Reunidos parks, Parque Warner, they and Parque Atracciones, Movie Park, all these parks, they have they do all of it on the phone, kind of like Six Flags. So you can just buy the single shots, and it's pretty much identical to the way the Six Flags app is set up. So it was really familiar to me and easy, and I really liked that part about it. So I'd recommend using that if you really want to get some extra rides in and just don't have time if the line's too long. It is a little pricey, but it's worth it for how good this coaster is. So those are all my thoughts on Batman Gotham City Escape. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I definitely encourage you all to go out to visit this park because it's absolutely amazing, and go ride this coaster. Enjoy the other coasters they have at the park too, like Stuntfall, Superman, and it's just a great park, and Madrid is an awesome city to visit, and I can't recommend it enough. Please share the video, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys all have a really great day.